obviously have had the chance to play under and coach under a series of college football Hall of Famers in Ohio State. John Cooper,
Yep.
Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, and you have been Ohio State head coach, Luke Fickell. So what have you taken away as a head coach from each of those guys, including former Ohio State head coach Luke Fickell?
Well, there's a lot of ways of doing things, and there's a lot of different leadership styles that are unique to each and every person. And the head coach, Luke Fickell, for the first time made a mistake in every single one of those because he didn't recognize that if you're not yourself, you can't have the consistency that you need to lead young men and to lead a staff. And so making some of those mistakes was probably invaluable to me. But more than anything, it made me also recognize you had the good fortune of not having to move your family all around the country, but then getting the experiences from 3 different Hall of Fame head coaches that have done it in many different ways, with a consistency in certain things that give you the experience. I think that has helped me in the different opportunities I've had, in particular being head coach.
Are those guys that you ever reach back out to in any way? You talk to Coop, you talk to Urban?
Coach Coop, yes. I mean, he's almost 90 now. Every now and then, Coach Tressel, who's obviously lieutenant governor of the state, but would answer a call or a text message within probably 15 minutes of when you hit him. Is unbelievable. Those guys, and Coach Tress in particular, the one. My other greatest connection is probably Mark D'Antonio, all of guys that are out of the game, but offer a lot of insight.
What kind of government do you think Jim Tressel?
I'm not around, so I don't know. I know that whatever he does incredibly well.
Coach, you had some experience playing against Alabama, with Cincinnati and Wisconsin. Do you look forward to being in Tuscaloosa this fall?
Yeah, I've got some experience playing against him. I've never played there. But no, it's an incredible challenge, and I think for us and who we are and where we are, it's just another way of saying, hey, we got a great opportunity to measure ourselves. We had an opportunity to measure ourselves last year, and we did recognize where we were, which wasn't a great place. And so, our ability to continue to grow and recognize these things as opportunities and challenges, what's incredibly important to us, and to go on the road is just another way of recognizing some of the challenges that are going to be ahead of us as we move into the Big Ten schedule as well.
Coach, I spoke to Billy, the Edwards Jr. quarterback, and I guess his family has some Alabama background. Did you know that?
No, I don't know that I know that background. I know the Northern Virginia background. I know his brother coaches in college at Richmond. His sisters, I think, at UConn with athletics. But I don't know the whole extent of the family tree and history.
So his mom, I think his brother.
Oh, well, that I didn't know. So you know what?
Talk to her, she might get
There you go. I think I have enough insight with some of that, and if I guess we could go as far as to say I have a niece that went to school there, and if she could fill me in on anything, I think that'd be great. But I don't know that I'm going to be calling upon her either.
Coach, what would you like to see your team do better this year? Offensively?
Well, where do we start? I think what you just said is the combination. And you're going to hear this thing over and over from me, this ability to play complementary football. That's what our team needs to do. It's not any one in particular thing. It's not run the ball better or stop the run better. Those are all things that we need to do better. But if we don't play complementary football and be a comprehensive complementary football program, then we won't grow to where we need to grow to.
Coach, has the revenue sharing changed your recruiting in any form?
I think it's changed everybody's recruiting in some form or fashion, right? Never did in the past did we have to truly deal with contracts. I think that, over the last couple of years with NIL we have, but I think that there's been a lot of changes that, we still are trying to figure out how the revenue sharing based on, do we have parameters, do we have a cap, do we have a soft cap, and what the hell does that really mean, is going to continue to change and evolve all of high school recruiting as in particular to as it does for the portal recruiting as well.
Regarding college football, the playoff expansion, and Tony Petitti wanting the automatic qualifiers and playing games, what would playing games do for Wisconsin?
I mean, there's not playing games does so much for the entire Big Ten. I mean, to have, I mean, the greatest thing about college football, or I mean, about the NFL football is there's so many teams that are still alive come the last 2-3 weeks of the season. And when you really just look at saying, hey, be in the top 6 in your league, I mean, you talk about meaningful games that are played in November and on everybody's campus. I mean, what more can you do? Right? I mean, that's the greatest thing that's the greatest opportunity that you can have. And as we've seen with the 12-team playoff, it's very rarely does whoever everybody thinks is number one be the one that wins out in the end. And if that doesn't show you the difference between selecting, who is to be in the playoffs as opposed to doing your best job at playing into the playoffs, I mean, we just see it over and over every year. So I know it would do a lot for us. I think it would do a lot for our league. But I think that idea of wild card weekend that I like to refer to it as, I think would be something that's pretty special.
And with the Big Ten winning back-to-back national championships, have you seen that have an effect on Wisconsin recruiting, whether it's high school or college?
Yeah, I think in general, in some ways. I mean, I think that there are some people that are starting to recognize it in, student athletes in particular, the where some separation is becoming. And I'm not here to say we're, be like some others and make some bold statements about where we are compared to the SEC. Like the truth of the matter is the Big Ten and the SEC are what college football is continuing to be. And I do think that there's definitely two guys that are in some ways separating themselves, and we need to find a way to outside of whatever the laws allow and collusion and things like that to figure out what's best for college football via the Big Ten and the SEC. And put some structure in place. And again, I praise our commissioner for doing that and pushing forward and trying to do that. I'm not downplaying that anybody else. I know it's not an easy thing because it's hard to get 16 of our own coaches that say they want the same things to walk out of the room and continue to do the same things that they said they're going to do or going to vote for the same things. So, there's a lot of change in college football, and I think it is all for the better, but it does make it difficult for a lot of us. There's a lot of things that attract me to Billy. I think his journey is what attracted me more than anything, and I just mean that in the ability to handle a lot of adversity, go through a lot of different situations that it's hard to gain the experience without that. I think it does show you that some of the coast-to-coast draw, and I think that's probably one of the things that's helped. I mean, it makes it hard on the Big Ten, but it's also helped, right? I mean, there's a reason that you're on all networks. There's a reason that your TV contract has grown larger than a lot of others, and while it's a challenge, it also reaches legitimately coast-to-coast, with everything that we do, and so. Am I going to complain about having to travel a little bit more? I mean, it is what it is, but I do think you do recognize, not just where college football is, but also where it's going. No, I don't think that's possible. And again, I don't know what to sit here and say what is the best way, right? I mean, it's not like we share with anybody else in this room, and it's not even, to be honest with you, it's like you could say, well, you can take an NFL model, and I don't think any of us are there yet either. Do we really have a cap? Do we? I mean, there's a lot of things that are continuing to evolve, but I think what it comes down to is, what is your core philosophy? And in some ways, for me to hopefully try to keep the coaches out of it because of relationships, but to be a part of everything that is within your program, I don't know how you could do without it. It doesn't mean I'm making every one of those decisions. Doesn't mean I'm spending an enormous amount of time as our GM would spend talking to agents, because that's not where I would enjoy to spend any of my time. Nothing against them. but I think if to not at least be in the weeds and making sure that you understand, because there are ramifications, and it does affect, things as we continue to move forward. Not like we're going to make decisions, not going to cut off our nose to spite our face. The best players are going to play. But maybe if that's something that happens in the NFL, then it is what it is. But the key for us is that, most importantly, that we're on the same page. We do as much as possible. Sometimes in the recruiting of high school kids, that's a little bit more difficult. But I like to believe that, the guys within our program and the guys coming into our program can keep that relationship that stays away from, some of the other things that college football has brought in the last few years, and i.e. the contracts and the money things, that their relationships can stay on a different page and doesn't have to involve some of that. Well, I think we got to make sure that when we get to November, we're playing our best football. And look, I'm the first one to tell you, nobody's asked about that, and I appreciate that, because everybody asks about Alabama, everybody asks about, whether it's Ohio State or whether it's going to Oregon or going. And the truth of the matter is, in order for us to be where we want to be, you got to beat your rivals, but you got to play your best ball in November, and guess when that game is? It's in November. So there's a lot of work to be done in between that. Our guys understand what the history of the rivalry is, and to be on the other side of it last year is something that's been incredibly motivating in a lot of different ways.
What's your relationship like?
I don't know. He was a G on the other side of the ball, so it didn't have much of a relationship. I think it was a short amount of time, 1 year. But the hard part to me in this business is, regardless if you've spent a year with a guy, spent a whole year with Greg Schiano in the same room, and to think that you have any relationship because, of what college football and the lack of parameters and rules, for me, it makes it very difficult to, not say just have friends, but even to share ideas with anybody. Maybe other people better, but I can't imagine that any of us share anything, no matter what kind of history we have with each other. And it's a shame. And if I could change one thing about college football, that would lead to a lot of other things. But I think that is one of those things that's just, it's made it everybody's in their own silos. Well, twofold. I think that people have asked about what happened and where was the drop off with Rico, and when they're just evaluating the numbers. But I think that early on in the season in particular, there was a lot of people that, hey, after what he did the year before, maybe went in a different direction in some ways. But as we got to the end of the year, I think that we were exposed in a lot of different ways, and we didn't do a good enough job for Rico either. When you can't stop the run, especially at the end of the year, you don't put people in a position where they got to throw the football. So there's not one thing that says, well, why didn't Rico have the year, or where is he at now? But I can tell you this: where Rico is today, 6 days or 5 days away from going into fall camp, is a far cry from even where he was last year. And I mean that, not that he didn't work, but he was coming off a shoulder surgery, that he really couldn't run and put himself in a position where, he needed to be, the shape he needed to be going into the season. And based on what happened last year, I've seen a different Rico Holman and a different preparation, and is in a much different place going into this fall season.
Is there a change that you think could or should be implemented to make things clearer, to make things easier for your staff?
We're not in the business of making things easier, right? The game of football, no matter how long it's been happening, we keep changing, two-a-day rules and different. The beautiful thing about the game of football is nobody's changed anything to make it easier. In a lot of other sports or other games, we're going to change things to make. So we're not in the process of making things easy. The whole idea, if you want to be great, you got to embrace hard things. Can you make things clearer? I would say that would be the route to go if we could do in recruiting, and I think it has to do with some of the rules and regulations based on, what is a payment, what does salary cap, revenue sharing, contracts really look like? Is there ever any transparency that would keep you from, in this recruiting process, bidding against a ghost? There is no market, so you're battling ghosts, and it all goes back to that ability for us to share information with each other. Without rules and parameters, you're not going to be able to do any of that.
You've been asked a lot about the schedule and non-conference schedules with this week. Your program's got at least one Power 5 game before 2030. Is that something you want to continue as long as you're coaching?
Hey, look, I'm not. In front of the cameras and things, I'd say it's a great thing for us. I do think there's some strategic things that you got to be smart with. And where your conference has gone to, and if we're going to continue to play 9 games, and if the other conferences are going to play 9 games, and if not, I think that you need to really look at that, and you need to look at what's best for your team and your program. And I think that's hard to say as a whole. I mean, what's best for us, as opposed to what's best for Indiana, as opposed to what's best for Oregon. It depends on what they believe is best for them, and without there being some balance, meaning, i.e., league games and the total, or the AQs, I think it's really strategic, and I think that you got to relook at it.